morning and thanks for joining us on the Friday edition of TVC Breakfast. Let's bring you the news update at this time. Now, one of Nigeria's super cop is being tracked by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, has ordered an internal review of the allegations against the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Abba Kyari, by a United States court. Force spokesman Frank Mba made this known in a statement on Thursday, reaffirming the force's commitment to the pursuit of justice and the strengthening of its professional relationship with the FBI and other international partners. The Inspector General of Police said further developments in the case will be communicated to members of the public accordingly. Earlier, the United States District Court for the Central District of California said alleged international fraudster Ramon Abbas, also known as Hush Puppy, used Kyari to arrest and jail a co-conspirator. According to a communique from the court, the arrest was made after Mr. Vincent threatened to expose a $1 million fraud committed against a Qatari businessman. Mr. Kyari was implicated in a bribery scandal involving Hush Puppy, and in his explanation about his links with the cybercrime suspect, he explained how his team responded to a distress call by Hush Puppy about the threat to his family, which turned out not to be exactly what it was presented to be. He maintains that no one demanded nor received money from the complainant or his family. The Deputy Commissioner of Police said that Hush Puppy, in another occasion, reached out to demand a link to his tailor, which he gave him. Again, this, according to Mr. Kyari, did not attract any gratification. He urged the people who appreciate the effort of his team in serving Nigeria to remain calm, as they will be vindicated at the end of the day. Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party has demanded a forensic investigation into the reports from the FBI linking Abba Kyari to Hush Puppy. In a statement by the party's spokesperson, Kola Ologbondiyan, the PDP said the revelation of the involvement of the head of Nigeria's Intelligence Response Unit as a receiver of proceeds of international fraud is worrisome, disturbing, and a stain on the integrity of the nation. The party demanded that the matter not be swept under the carpet, but asked President Buhari to direct the Inspector General of Police to take in Abba Kyari for questioning, and if found culpable, he should be handed over to the FBI. Now, the Department of State Services failed to produce in court the 12 detained aides of Yoruba Nation agitator Sunday Adeyemo, popularly known as Sunday Igboho. Due to their absence, the case was stalled, forcing Justice Obiora Egwatu to issue another order that the defendants be brought to court on Monday, the 2nd of August. TVC News Judiciary correspondent Celestina Iria reports.
Of State Security Services failed to produce the 12 aides of Sunday Igboho in court, raising the ire of presiding judge Justice Obiora Egwatu. He re-emphasized his order that the Department of State Security Services should make the suspects who have been detained since 2nd of July available for bail consideration. In his 23rd July ruling, Justice Egwatu had, in an ex parte motion, had ordered the DSS to produce the 12 aides in court and also show cause on why the court not admit them to bail, conditionally or unconditionally. At the resumed sitting, counsel to the DSS told the court that the enrolled order of the court was received, but the circumstances of the case need to be made known to the court. To that effect, a 16-paragraph affidavit was filed on the 27th of July. He says some of the names contained in the order of the court are not in the custody of the DSS, and only 3 persons whose names are on the list are with them. Presiding Judge Justice Obiora Egwatu was not persuaded by the argument. He held that the order of the court was for the DSS to produce the applicants in court. That order should be obeyed first, before telling the court the circumstances of their arrest. The judge held that the order ought to be obeyed to the letter, after which the DSS can consequently offer explanations for their detention. Justice Obiora emphasized his order directing the respondent to produce the applicants in court on 2nd August. He also ordered the DSS to grant the applicants access to their counsel.
You know, the DSS wasn't proper before the court, so we cannot even rely on all the things they are saying. We know for a fact that these people were arrested illegally and we've come to court to seek the refuge of the court. So we believe strongly by Monday that these people will be produced, and we shall pray the court to release them on bail. It is very important that the DSS as an institution should understand that the Constitution is supreme.
Counsel to the EFCC declined making comments to newsmen. The Department of State Services had on 1st July raided the residence of Mr. Igboho, allegedly killing 2 people and arresting 12 aides, but Mr. Igboho escaped. Counsel to the DSS had told the court that the DSS had obtained a court order to detain the applicants for 14 days. He said the detention order is to elapse on the 2nd of August. Celestina Iria, TVC News, Abuja.
And though the trial of Yoruba Nation agitator Sunday Adeyemo, also known as Sunday Igboho in Benin Republic, has been adjourned, Nigerians are eagerly waiting to see what becomes the fate of the self-styled freedom fighter. Igboho gained national prominence in January 2021 when he gave vacation order to killer herdsmen in Ibarakwa and began to champion calls for a separate Yoruba nation from Nigeria. TVC News senior political correspondent Ayodele Ozugbaku takes a look at the secessionist struggle led by Sunday Igboho and his present predicament.
Agitations for self-governance among the ethnic groups that make up Nigeria did not start today. Such struggle and secessionist agitation led to the first civil war in Nigeria from 1967 to 1970. The protagonists of self-determination struggles often accuse the government of marginalizing their segment of the country in the scheme of things. One of such struggles in the recent calls for a breakaway Yoruba nation from Nigeria, led by Chief Sunday Adeyemo, popularly called Sunday Igboho. Chief Adeyemo was born on the 10th of October 1972 at Igboho town, located in Okeogun area of Oyo State. He's a businessman who is nicknamed after his hometown, Igboho. He rose to fame following his role in the Ife-Modakeke communal crisis in 1997, where he played active parts. Many believe that Igboho has metaphysical abilities which make him a formidable opponent in battle. He first achieved national prominence in October 2020 when he used the country's Independence Day to call for the creation of an independent Yoruba Republic. He gained more social media attention in January 2021 when he gave an ultimatum to killer herdsmen to vacate Ibarakwa land over incessant killings in the area. On the 7th of January, when the ultimatum expired, the Yoruba Nation agitator and some youth stormed Igongon in Ibarakwa North local government area of Oyo State to send herdsmen away. They blamed their action on frequent clashes between farmers and herders in the southwest, which led to loss of lives and property. Igboho continued to gain popularity and acceptance among some people in the southwest, as many regard him as a freedom fighter struggling to liberate his people. This seeming struggle to liberate the Yoruba people from incessant killings led him and his people to begin to advocate for Oodua Republic. His campaign received sympathy from Yoruba people in the diaspora and some in Nigeria. He began to organize rallies and awareness campaigns for his Yoruba nation agenda across the southwest, despite several warnings against secession by the federal government. Before his planned Lagos rally on the 3rd of July, a combined team of security forces led by Department of State Services DSS carried out a midnight raid on Igboho's house in Soka area of Ibadan, Oyo State capital, on the 1st of July. He evaded arrest and escaped from the raid, after which he was declared wanted by the federal government. On the 20th of July, 3 weeks after he was declared wanted by Nigeria's secret police, Igboho was arrested in Cotonou, Republic of Benin, while trying to travel to Germany with his wife, Rocco. Igboho was later arraigned along his wife for immigration-related offenses. Last Thursday, the court ordered his wife to be released but refused to grant his bail requests. The prosecutors have indicated readiness to file new charges against the Yoruba Nation agitator while he remains in prison. After spending 10 days in detention and still counting, the fate of Mr. Sunday Adeyemo, also known as Chief Sunday Igboho, will be determined by this court called Criminal de Parquet. From Cotonou, Ayodele Ozugbaku, TVC News, Republic of Benin.
National leader of the All Progressives Congress, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, has congratulated Governor Rotimi Akeredolu over Wednesday's Supreme Court verdict upholding his victory in the Ondo State governorship election. In a statement by his spokesperson, Mr. Tinubu said the court's decision has finally laid to rest the dispute and litigation over the election. He congratulated the justices of the Apex Court for helping to bring the matter of Ondo governorship election to a closure. He also felicitated with the people of Ondo State, saying they were the ultimate winners. Mr. Tinubu said with the case settled, Governor Kyari could now completely settle down and continue to deliver good governance, developmental projects and programs to the people of the state, as he has been doing since his first term in office. He urged the opposition to join hands with Governor Kyari and the administration to develop the state. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control has reported 558 new cases of COVID-19, taking the country's total number of confirmed cases to 178,821. Lagos recorded the highest number of new cases with 376 new infections, followed by Oyo with 33 new cases, while Akwa Ibom recorded 26 new cases so far. 164,930 people have been discharged, while 2,141 people have died from COVID-19 complications. We take a break. When we return at 2 p.m, we'll bring you more to stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Now, the federal government has warned Nigerians to expect heavy flooding this year, listing Lagos and Osun states as likely to experience more flood-related disasters. Director General of Nigeria Hydrological Service Agency, Mr. Clement Nze, who gave the advice at a press conference in Abuja, said not less than 18 states have started experiencing flood disasters at a period the country was yet to enter the peak of the rainy season. He said current flood incidents were caused by inadequate drainage systems, as localized heavy downpour generated the flash and urban flooding, adding that river and coastal flooding are yet to set in. He said Lagos and Ogun states may likely experience the 3 stages of floods: urban, river and coastal flooding due to their geographical location. Joining me in the studio is Philip Jakbo, Director of Programs, CAPA. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure being here.
At the time we are yet to enter the peak of the rainy season, we are already seeing cars submerged and all of it, and a lot of people are complaining, making videos. We saw the video, yet we are saying we should expect more. I wonder how concerning, disturbing this development is for you, and let's help us make better sense of this development. Why is it different from other days or other years that we have seen?
Well, I think the starting point is we must commend the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency for their early warnings. So one thing we will agree is that we are getting better by the year with the predictions.
Okay.
But like like you just reported, one thing is very evident. Despite the early warning system we have in place, the state governments are doing practically nothing to address the situation. What we've been hearing is climate change. Of course, climate change makes us have unusual rains. Right. The rains have been very, very heavy. That is, nobody is disputing that. But we have only been talking about the rains getting heavier and not things that we should do to ensure that our people do not suffer needlessly. The incident you mentioned 2 weeks ago in Lagos, we had hundreds of cars practically submerged. Everybody on his own. People have to take responsibility. Right. And these things are because people in government who are tasked with the responsibility of preparing people, because we have had these warnings. There are some things that government should do at all levels, federal and state. But unfortunately, they are not doing these things. There are some things they can do in the short term, because now we have the warnings. It's going to happen most likely in September. It's already happening.
It's already happening.
In Taraba, we had flooding that, submerged about 300 houses. In Katsina, about 1,500 houses, farmlands were affected. Now, of course, this is going to have grave implications, not only on socioeconomic, lives of people. It's also going to have implication on agriculture. Look at the northern part of the country where you already have security crisis. A lot of people have left the farms. Now we're adding flooding of the little farms that still exist. So in 2022, we might actually have hunger in the land.
Oh, we've been talking about that.
Because we are not doing just those basics. And like the agency mentioned, it is not so much as the rains causing the problems. It is the fact that the drains are blocked. The canals are not open.
Are these things, drains are not opened. These things are not supposed to be that difficult to do, because we see government at the various levels embarking on several projects. This should be part of what we should see government doing. But
exactly.
we still get this early warning signs, yet nothing is done. Is it that difficult to do? Help us understand.
The political will is not there. I think that is very, very important. Like I said, since 2012, particularly, we have been having this kind of floods. In 2012, the flood that happened that, engulfed about 21 or so states.
Yes.
About 323 or so people died. Yeah. In Lokoja, for instance, which was the epicenter of the crisis,
a major part of the state was submerged.
About 200,000 hectares of farmland was submerged. So you could, and subsequently, we've been having, it has become a yearly thing. So we always talk about it is going to happen. And that's why I started by saying that NIMET and the Hydrological Services Agencies, they have been doing their job. But the states have not been doing their jobs. They have not been following up with either short or long-term, interventions. And like I mentioned...
Is it because, the people that are feeling the pains are not holding their governments to account? Because it has to be governance is a two-way thing. Because you go through this thing every year. Are you speaking with your government? There should be some level, because we still, Lagos State talking about town hall meetings. I do not know if issues like this are being presented, to their representatives to ensure that we are going through this. Something has to be done. People's cars, when we understand the situation in the economy right now, those cars, their engines are gone. People need to begin to speak up, don't you think, at this point?
Well, those are the kind of things we are doing. And like I will always see, even your organization is doing more than the government should do, because what you are doing here is alerting the government, educating people. So people watching this understand what is happening, and they need truly to hold our elected representatives and people in government accountable. But why we put the blame on the feet of the government is because the agency that is also raising this alarm, this alert, is an agency of government. So it shows that there's no synergy in government, because we've had this kind of floods. It happened in Germany. About 170,000 people died in, about 170 people died in Germany. In Belgium, about 38 people. Now, in those countries, truly, like you mentioned, the people are holding the government accountable. But even at that, in Belgium, where just everybody that dies matters, but they only lost 38 people. A magistrate in one of the cities, the city of Liege, is going as far as commissioning an investigation to know who is responsible. Involuntary, the case is about involuntary homicide. Who is that person or people who did not have foresight that this was going to happen? Right. And if they even had the foresight, what did they do to ensure that the impact that the people felt didn't get to that level? In Germany, the citizens are asking the government to ensure that those who are on the path of the floods get SMS and they evacuate to high ground. And it's not like they say evacuate and they are not making plans for that. There are plans for that. And these are between now and September that we expect the rains to kick off again. Yeah. There are some things that can be done, and those are the things we've mentioned. Is it too much to set up shelter on high ground so that we can evacuate people from those riverine areas and let them stay there, and after the floods they come, because it has become, like I said, a yearly thing. So it's almost like it's now a culture. And so government is relaxing. But at the, on a longer term, on a longer shot, look at some recommendations, for instance, because the floods, as these rains increase, it's likely that Lado Dam in Cameroon and the dams that we also have, Kenji and the rest of them, might also start getting overfilled, and there will be need to release waters. Are we planning for that? When the Lagdo Dam was built between 1977 and 1979, Nigeria was supposed to build what they call buffer dams, small dams, because the Lagdo Dam is upstream, Cameroon is upstream, we are downstream. Yeah. So naturally, when waters are released, it comes down this way. And the epicenter, you know, where River Niger and Benue meet is Lokoja, for instance. Yeah. So it's likely that you are going to have the kind of flooding that we have in 2012 at the rate we are going. And then it starts coming down and empties into the Atlantic. So communities, Bayelsa, they are going to feel these things.
We do not have a buffer dam as it is.
There's no buffer dam. And there's no, we have been talking, but nothing. So we are supposed to build those small buffer dams to assimilate those waters. The Nigerian government has been talking since 1979 and done nothing about it. So that's why we're having these kind of situations at the national level. But again, at the state level, this is like we have just said, clearing the canals. Is it too much? You know, opening up the drains, you know, ensuring that we build these shelters. When COVID came, we saw the speed with which, you know, government set up these centers, you know, that could accommodate the number expected to, you know, be down with COVID. Why can't we do the same thing and even have something permanent for the floods? Because it is now a yearly thing. It is as simple as that. But unfortunately, it's not happening. Then, of course, the same state governments are the ones that also allocate plots to people on flood plains, areas that are supposed to be, you know, free from any obstruction. You have, look at the Lekki corridor, for instance. Look at the reclamation exercises going on there. Look at the sand filling. Once there is a disaster in the Lekki axis, for instance, once we have massive flooding, nobody can escape.
They've been feeling the pain.
Yes, they have. But it's, we are now at the mercy of the elements. And as this climate change crisis continues to escalate, and we have been told, I think some days back, we had the Lagos State government, for instance, saying that by 2029 or 29 years from now, the Victoria Island or so is going to be submerged. It's going to be covered. So, and then, so why do we have all those kind of activities going on there?
Why are we not stopping?
Why are we not stopping it?
If you can project.
The flood, the rains we had just 2 weeks ago, and the entire Lekki Express, people could not even, you know, come out of their houses. People were, it's unfortunate. So now imagine if we have, it was just like 4 or 5 hours rain 2 weeks ago. So what if we have rain extending like 12 hours, the kind of things that this
4 days, 5 days,
or 5 days or
7 days,
that
as
means,
we usually have.
You know, it's a no-go area. So it's just government taking, you know, this as a priority. In fact, this is a state of emergency that should be declared on the issue of flooding, rather than every year you get these predictions and governments do nothing.
Is there something that can be done on the flood-prone areas such that we do not have to keep telling these persons, move, you know, to a safer place, move to a safer place, something environmentally friendly to ensure their safety? Because for how long will we keep moving every year?
Well, as long as we don't have alternatives for those people. We don't have alternatives for those people. Government is not ready to, you know, build the Morocco example. We don't have those kind of things. So if we don't have it, we must also plan, because the developed countries we are talking about, where you have the hurricane, people are in Florida and elsewhere, people are always evacuated and they come back. So if we want to accept that as the way to go, all we need to do is just to set up those shelters on high ground to ensure that, you know, once the flood season is approaching, we just tell the people to evacuate. They go to those places, and after some time they come back. But I think what we should look at more is the fact that government itself is breaching its own laws when they allocate plots to people on those flood plains that should not accommodate people. The ones in the people in the riverine areas, some of them have been there for generations. Yeah. So it's different from a situation where government deliberately, does the so-called reclamation or sand filling and then starts allocating land. So it's government itself breaching its own laws.
Now, let's look at what the level of engagement with governments now, because we have been talking about government not doing what it should. Are we pushing engagement with government, reminding them perhaps on a yearly basis as well? This is coming. Whenever we hear the early warning signs, agencies or organizations like yours go to meet government to say, we are receiving this early warning signs. What are we doing? What are the plans on the ground?
Well, we continue to, at that level, we are also engaging.
Right.
And talking is also part of the engagement. We do that. But like I said, we don't see government responding as it should. And we don't see synergy between NEMA and SEMA, the National Emergency Management Agency, and the state level agencies working together. Because by now, we should also be hearing from those agencies
what their plans are.
Maybe choppers are in place to ensure that people who are going to be displaced and they are not accessible by boats, they will be able to access them. Those are the kind of things they should be telling us, rather than just the alarm we get that flood is going to be flooding is coming.
There's going to be flooding. All right.
What can government do? What is government doing? That is what they are doing in Germany. That's what they are doing in Belgium, China, and elsewhere. The people are encouraged that the government is doing something. Here, all we hear is gloom, doom, nothing else.
We hope that government takes necessary steps, because the implications is not something that one would want to think about as we speak. But thank you so much, Philly Jakpo, Director of Programs, CAPA, for your time on the program.
Thank you.
We'll take a break now. When we return, we will be looking through the papers. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. It is time now to know what's on the front pages of Nigerian newspapers. Chartered accountant and public affairs analyst Olusegun Okunade and Chris Kendenwandu, CEO CKN News, joins me this morning. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for joining us at TVC Breakfast.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Friday.
Of course.
Right.
The day we all look up to.
Every week.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's head straight to the papers, and I begin with the Daily Times. Hush puppy, U.S. court orders arrest of IGP's team leader, Abba Kyari. Kyari denies receiving money from Hush puppy. IGP orders review of allegation against Kyari as PDP demands full probe of allegations. We move now to the First News newspaper. Nigeria must hand over Kyari, U.S. insists. Nigeria must hand over Kyari to U.S. U.S. insists. You'll find details of that story on the pages of the First News newspaper. To the Daily Sun, alleged $1.1 million bribe, Super Cop Abba Kyari in trouble. U.S. court orders arrest. Inspector General of Police approves probe of IRT boss. All right. You find details on the front page of the Daily Sun. And to the Nigerian News Direct, IGP directs investigation of FBI allegation against Abba Kyari. PDP demands investigation into alleged link as Kyari denies any fraudulent involvement. To the Nigerian Tribune now. Inspector General of Police orders probe of as Hush Puppy fingers Kyari in alleged $1.1 million fraud. U.S. court orders top cop arrest, how he was linked to money laundering, FBI. Hush Puppy only sent 300,000 naira for kaftan. I connected him with my tailor. Kyari clarifies. All right, to the Daily Trust now. Despite legal questions, APC begins congresses tomorrow. Despite legal questions, APC begins congresses tomorrow. To the front page of the blueprint, APC Congress's convention, Buni-led committee tackles Kiyamo, Enang, Ojudu. You'll find details of the story on the pages of the blueprint. To the leadership newspaper, despite Supreme Court verdict, Buni committee stays, APC declares. Right. Find details of the story on the pages of the leadership newspaper. To the Guardian now. No going back on APC Congress. Buni vows despite court verdict. APC dazed, staggers for Supreme Court ruling on Ondo Guba. Omo Agege Enang Ojudu Eta Kiyamo Abe cross words. We move to the front page of this day newspaper. APC in jeopardy over Buni's continued stay as national chair. Presidential aides want him sacked. Omo Agege insists his stay is legal. Uba's candidacy in Anambra uncertain. And to the Punch newspaper, court declaration of Buni. Governors hold emergency meeting today. APC chiefs differ. Congress is to hold. Governors are meeting on Friday. We will know direction after Pali chair. APC chairman forum Saturdays. Congresses will go ahead. It's be irresponsible to do so, says Banire. And on the front page of the Nation newspaper, Igboho's lawyer, why he will remain in Benin prison. Agitator won't be extradited. DSS, we are detaining his 3 associates on court's order. And to the national economy. Now, forex demand in Tier 1 banks rises to over $100 million per day. Find details of the story on the pages of the national economy. To the business day now, food gulps 101% of average wages in Nigeria. Food gulps 101% of average wages in Nigeria, second highest globally. All right. And finally, on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, Tokyo Olympics shame, outrage over ban of 10 Nigerian athletes. A calamitous disaster for Nigeria. Ngerem Ministry appeals to athletes to remain focused. Okagbar Islam Sports Authorities. AFN accepts responsibility. AFN didn't test athletes. Coach Kidley. All right. Collins wants Senate to investigate. All right. You find details of this story on the pages of the Vanguard newspaper. Let's look at, gentlemen, the story that went viral. Yes, that's the word, yesterday. And it's almost on all the pages of the papers this morning, talking about Hush Puppy's involvement of Super Cop Abba Kyari in his case. And there is an alleged 1.5, he was said to be part of a $1.1 million bribe, an alleged $1.1 million bribe. But Abba Kyari has said that the only money he got from Hush Puppy is 300,000 naira for a kaftan, which he connected him with his tailor, he clarified. And we also have developments coming from the Inspector General of Police directing an investigation. But let me begin with CKN, because I know that he and Abba Kyari are friends. How you how you feel about this development, because his reputation precedes him, and everybody knows him as a super cop, like he's been described. And then this coming at this time of his career, how does that make you feel?
It's rather unfortunate, but we are all human. There's no superhuman, and that's why mortals. We are fallible. So at any given point in time, it is expected that once in a while, a man will find some low moments in his life. Even the greatest of men, even the Bible, David, Psalms, name all of them. They had their lows. But what makes a man is the ability to fall down and rise again. So that is what makes a man. And in the Igbo adage, my Igbo adage, there's always this saying that when an old man falls, he moves on. If a child falls, he looks back and see. So, but coming back to the issue, it's just, I say, it's rather unfortunate that a young man that has done so much for this country, that has been able to help in nipping the bud, the high level of insecurity, he has practically done it all. And at a tender age, rising to the position of a Deputy Commissioner of Police, could find himself in this situation. But let us also look at different points that is still within the realms of allegations. Yes. As a student of law, I know that every individual is assumed to be innocent until proven guilty by a competent court. Good enough, the Inspector General of Police came out yesterday to issue a statement that an investigation has been is going on into the matter, and probably they will come out with a result. But for me, the law for me would have been that I expected, as if I'm supposed to advise Abba Kyari as of yesterday, I would have asked him not to issue the statement he made. He shouldn't have made that statement. As a student of journalism, I know we are taught, most of the time people don't understand. When there is an allegation or a write-up or whatever for you, against you, at times you are asked to, when you look at it, the best thing is not always to send a repeater or try to, because why? We are told that, yes, there's a right of reply, but if you weigh it and you look at your right of reply will not be able to do justice to the story, then you just keep quiet. You try to keep quiet because, one, it allows, when you do a right of reply, those that didn't read the first story will now have opportunity of going back to read the story, they get to know about it. So, professionally, but he couldn't have, I personally feel he shouldn't have issued that statement because it was a bit watery. It was indicting to some extent and the rest of them. I probably would have expected him to wait for the police to probably reply on his behalf. And I know there's one guy in the police force, my very good friend too, who is the spokesman of the police, who is also a lawyer. And I know that he does a good job when it comes to issue like this. So I would have expected, but let us wait and see what is it. But if this is going to affect Abba Kyari, as people have been projected, there need to be a big blow for us, because if you look at what this young man has done, is unprecedented. Right from his days at SARS, his right started from SARS in Lagos. Yes, that is where he proved himself, and along the line, name them even up to the celebrity kidnapper in Lagos. It was Abba Kyari. You remember I can't remember his name now. The celebrity kidnapper that was in Lagos and this thing. Then with Evans, you know. Evans, there has been other Godo. Most of those most dangerous robbers and rest of them in Lagos and in the western part of the country, he was able to make sure that they were caught and prosecuted. Then it was based on this that he was elevated to go to Abuja to head the IR team, and with that IR team, he has done a lot too. So, but I will still continue to give him the benefits of the doubt. Yes, he's my friend. Of course, I don't deny my friends, but the fact is, the issue remains that let us wait and see. With the investigation being carried out by the IGP, then we know how to take it further.
Shason, we'll come to you, but after this short break, stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We're still looking at the major story, which has to do with Super Cup. Abba Kyari is said to be in trouble because of the recent allegations leveled against him. He was fingered in a probe of Hush Puppy, where an alleged 1.1 million naira fraud is said. He's said to be a part of an alleged 1.1 million naira
dollars.
$1.1 million. I'm still saying naira. Oh God, I'm used to naira. $1.1 million bribe. But Shason, I was to come to you before we went on the break, and because the Inspector General of Police is asking for a probe of this matter, and I'm wondering if this will have any impact on the case already set in the U.S.
Thank you very much, Vero. This morning I was seriously heavy laden hearing this news about Super Cup, Abba Kyari, considering the impact this will have on the police force themselves. First and foremost, the setting up of probe by the IGP, well, is a good development. But one thing we should understand that it's US that is asking this. They don't make arrest and later start investigating like our own style in this country. They carry out all their investigation and nip things at the bud. And what they've said is that it's not that the whole $1.1 million was made available. It was part of it. And just 100,000 alone makes I'm not a student of law, but if you are part of the guy will not mention his name if he has not carried out one or two things. So them setting up investigation is fine, but I feel that the quarter where that thing is coming from, they have carried out a serious investigation. And like CKN said, what baffles me and of great shock was his response. You see, in this kind of a scenario, he didn't just meet Hush Puppy. They've been together for long. They are friends, possibly before he even, rose the rank in the police force and started doing great things. You'll be shocked of certain things that you must have exchanged, possibly a few years back. And you can't remember everything. Even his success stories that he has done while he's been in the police force. It's not all. It's people that will tell you, Abba, do you remember you did this at this particular? I say, oh, I've forgotten that I even rescued you at a particular point in time. So coming out to just quickly come and react and said, it's only 300,000 that has transpired between us. To me, is a swift response to put a defense up that cannot tackle you. You can do this if it is our own agency asking you, because they will make arrest and investigation will now start. So while they are doing that, you can look at ways to buy out time. But possibly for me, US, their forensic investigation team would have carried out so many things on this, and it's to go detailed into so
they brought
many,
out the charts.
If you look at the 69 pages that is actually being circulated, there are charts. You might not even collect the money, but you might give suggestion on how some of these things can be, and then they will just lure you in that, okay, possibly that one might just have an honest advice as a friend, and you just provide a solution, and that might be the way out for the guy to eat the thing. Right. For such crime, they will believe that you are an accomplice in it, and that's why you see it's a lesson for all as you are climbing the ladder. I feel at a point in time when Hush Puppy was actually arrested, there are ways you distance yourself from some certain people. I learned that from, they said when you are climbing the ladder, you shave off your friends. Because there are some you started together when you are rocking life, and
some of your friends.
Some.
Not all your friends.
Not all, yeah, because some of them will still be. You shake them off, because while you are rocking the boat, while you are trying to climb the ladder, there might be certain funny. Some of them are even delve into what you don't know. So you must be able to choose your friend, more so when success is coming your way. So that when you get to, because by now this is one of the people we are actually looking up to, who is painting the PR of the police force in a good manner.
And that's where my next question is going, because when we saw after the NSAS protest, we saw how things were between the police force and the people, and we're just trying to ensure that we rebuild that confidence and relationship with the police again. And like you pointed out, he was one of those that was seen to be the picture of an ideal policeman in Nigeria. I wonder how this development is going to impact the image of the police force as it is.
Well, the police force seems to be trying to re-energize itself, trying to give itself a new image, and good enough. If you realize since after the end of the NSAS, one thing you don't hear is accidental discharges again. I don't think there has been any level of pass used to be. That to me is part of internal mechanism within the police force. Don't forget that SARS was also disbanded, and a new team or a particular section was to be, I don't know whether those ones are in place now, because I knew that I have never heard anything about them again, or whether they have secretly put them on the roads or within the system. I doubt, but we've never had anything about that. But the police, for some time now, seems to have been doing some kind of image laundry for themselves, both themselves and the personnel, and the kind of, just recently the IG was able to decorate 24 new AIGs and have already sent them around. I think it will impart, but it's not, might not be able to impart totally. Don't forget that Abba Kyari is just one out of several policemen. There are so many guys in the police and a wonderful job.
No, we are not disputing that. We are just saying that he was one of those seen as
exactly.
That
is what I wanted to put that. There used to be a guy that was running RRS in Lagos, Tunji. That was a fantastic guy. Throughout his stay in Lagos, Tunji was an epitome of what an officer should be. If you see the way he handled issue of RRS, his human relationship with people, he's Tunji is one person that I think if you don't need to know Tunji, if you have his phone call, just call him. This is the problem we are seeing around. He responds to you. You go to his office, Tunji's office, you knock there. As a DCP, he doesn't even ask you, walk in and you see him. He was a totally wonderful guy and a very good image. He has been moved to Abuja now. And I'm sure with time we'll still hear again. Then I was talking about the PR, the guy that is a...
But not everybody know these people.
Yes.
Like the way they know Abba Kyari.
Look, the guy that is a PR, the guy that is spokesman of the police presently. You won't say you don't know him. He did wonderfully in Lagos. He has been a spokesman of police. If you see him when he sits and talk, you know that this guy is smart. Or like the person that he replaced. If you remember vividly, I don't want to mention anybody's name.
I know.
The person that you know who I'm talking about, the person he replaced. So, but yes, it will have some kind of impact. But the little test for me is the fact that we are having somebody that has done so much. Trying to throw away the baby with the bad water now will be a challenge for me. But
is there anything we can do?
That is what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. That is where it's going now. You know, so, and that is why I also agree with Sesson that at times you have to watch the friends you keep, okay? Because you don't know what happens tomorrow. Let me give you a practical example. Before anybody that's going to be the president of the United States of America, they start molding him from kids. People don't know that. Unlike our own, now we just pick anybody, a big bag money, something that say, oh, you will become this. And in America, you know why? Because immediately they pick you as a candidate for the election, everybody will start searching and looking back at your records.
Yes.
They will know your father, whether your father had this, whether your mother... You know, it becomes so that most often than not, they do their due diligence to make sure that whoever they're bringing forward doesn't have that kind of understanding. And immediately that is fine. You see the person just... So the first remains that we are in... is a quagmire for us and for Abba Kyari. But it is unfortunate that this is coming. But let us also wait and see the conclusion of whatever they do with the matter and see where it leads us. If it's going to be that they find him culpable, then he has to be extradited to US to answer for some of the cases, and then we look at. But I just a last cap on it. It's obvious that it's more of a plea bargain on the part of Hush Puppy with the police. Don't forget that he has pleaded guilty. Most people don't know that. So it could be a plea bargain, getting everybody, then you get lesser sentence. Probably this would have been a 40-year sentence for him. Now they're looking about between 20 and 15 years. So don't also forget that aspect of the
but part of the things, maybe to just round up, is just to say, if US is asking for him to come and make his own side of the story, we should try as much as possible after doing an investigation to allow him so that at least he can go there, defend some of these things, and possibly he might be cleared.
Of course. That's why I say that
the chances are there.
So that at least we can quickly bring that back. And this, because the way this information is going now is to dent their intent, that can quickly redeem the image of our police force.
Olusegun Okwade, CKN, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very
much. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much for having me. You have a wonderful weekend.
And you too.
Thank you too.
You're watching TVC Breakfast. Now, members of the Islamic movement of Nigeria are still basking in the euphoria of a court judgment that set free the leader of the Shiite group in the country, Ibrahim El-Zakzaky, and his wife, arrested and left in detention since December 2015. In Abuja and other cities that had seen demonstrations by members of the Shiite turned violent when protesters clashed with police, citizens can now feel safe again. TVC News senior correspondent Femi Falana reports.
A significant ratio of the palpable fear in Abuja drops as a Kaduna court sets free Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaky. After the arrest of the Shiite leader in December 2015, the streets of this quiet capital city turned volatile whenever members of the Islamic movement of Nigeria hit the streets in protest against the prolonged detention of El-Zakzaky and his wife Zinat. More than 20 major Shiite protests rocked the federal capital city and were met with brutal force by security agencies. Lives were lost, people injured and property destroyed. Yet there was no letting up by angry protesters, now resilient and resolute against what they say is government's oppression and persecution.
This area used to be an outpost of the National Emergency Management Agency, but it is now a parking lot. This is one of the many scars from clashes between the Nigerian police and shared protesters in the heart of Abuja. This destruction happened on the same day the police officer in charge of operations in the FCT was shot dead and the journalist killed by stray bullets. Frightened citizens always dread being caught in that crossfire and the tailback that immediately grinds activities to a halt.
The same month of July, just within 1 week, there was one of the most brazen confrontations between Shiite and security officers in the National Assembly. This attack further raised the threat level as it was the closest the protesters got to the seat of power in the presidential villa. Abdullahi Mohammed is a spokesman for the IMN in Abuja. He participated in the numerous protests that attracted both local and international attention and piled pressure on the federal government to release the leader of the Shiite Islamic sect. He says it is not yet over unless all other peaceful protesters are set free.
I think like in Abuja here we have 56 people in Kuje prison. We are facing trial by the FCT Commissioner of Police. They arrested them during the killing in Federal Secretariat on the 22nd July 2019 when the combination joint security forces attacked peaceful protesters.
Tina is the florist at this retail flower stand in Abuja. The ruins of the Nema outpost just a few meters away remind her daily of the danger that lurked on the streets when followers of Sheikh El-Zakzaky came out to protest the arrest of their leader.
When they come like this, we pack our things away. We leave the place because we don't want them to destroy some of the things.
Muhammad Ibrahim Gamawa is a member of the Resource Forum in the Islamic Movement of Nigeria. He wants the government and security agencies to answer for the violent attacks against peaceful protesters and compensate for loss of lives and property.
The government is supposed to be flexible and condone criticisms, not using the correctional center or framing somebody because he criticized the government. No, that's what General Buhari did, and he did that to Janet. He called Jonathan every sort of name. And Jonathan did not order for his arrest. Every revolution was heard from his mouth that we need the Egyptian type of revolution. So
the road to freedom for El-Zakzaky was rough and tough. The shouts of "Free El-Zakzaky" was loud and clear. Now they will heave a sigh of relief as the leader of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria breathes the air of freedom. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
All right, joining me via Zoom is lawyer to El-Zakzaky and senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. All right, let's begin this way. We recall that you had at one point asked the Attorney General of the Federation to respect the rule of law and release your clients. But we see eventually that the courts have now discharged and acquitted him. What does this victory mean for you?
Well, the victory means for us as a defense team the triumph of the rule of law over official impunity at the highest level. The victory means for us the need for Nigerians to insist on their rights, even in the midst of intimidation. The victory means for us that at the end of the day, justice will triumph over evil. Here, you have a situation where two sects of the Islamic religion, the Sunnis and the Shiites, or the Sunnis in government decided to use the instrumentality of the state to harass those they consider their opponents, the Shiites. In December 2015, it was alleged that there was a traffic gridlock in Zaria because the Shiites had a religious outing brought about because the state would not allow them to have a religious camp. On that day, the then Chief of Army Staff, General Yusuf Buratai, the current plenipotentiary of Nigeria to the Republic of Benin, was alleged to be part of the people on the road. Instead of calling the police or the Federal Road Safety Corps to remove any obstruction on the highway, the Nigerian Army took the law into its hands, and the army authorities ordered soldiers, armed soldiers, to shoot at the Shiites. At the end of what the press erroneously called a clash, at the end of the massacre, hundreds of Shiites were not only killed, their bodies were also taken away and buried in an unmarked grave. That was on the 12th of December 2015. Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaky and his wife, Madam Zainat, were not at the scene of the incident. They were still in their residence. On the 14th, the army dispatched a platoon to attack them in their homes. In that unprovoked attack, 3 of their children were shot dead in their presence. As if that was not enough, the army shot at them again, soaked in their own blood. They were taken away to a military barrack where they were detained. From there, they were transferred to the detention facility of the State Security Service. They were not given adequate medical attention. Hence, El-Zakzaky lost his right eye while pellets lodged in the body of the wife were not removed. And some of them have not been removed up to now, to the extent now that she can no longer stand to work. Now, we went to court, contrary to the impression created by the government. Oh, these Shiites have no confidence in the rule of law. We were instructed to go to court. We approached the Federal High Court. And on the 2nd of December 2016, the Federal High Court declared the arrest and detention illegal, awarded 25 million naira to each of them, and both of them 50 million naira, and that the federal government should provide a temporary accommodation for them, since their house had been burnt. Their house was bulldozed and set on fire by the Kaduna state government or the instructions of Governor Nasir El-Rufai. The protests you were just witnessing now were meant to compel the Nigerian state to comply with the orders of its own court. The Honorable Justice Gabriel Kolawole had set them free, but the government refused to comply. Hence, the Shiites went to the street in the process again of demonstrating peacefully. Not less than 100 were killed by a combined team of the army and the police. Of course, disappointed but undaunted, the Shiites continued the protest. When the government became sufficiently embarrassed, the Attorney General of the country
All right.
Mr. Abubakar, because of national security, whatever that means. Because the nebulous concept of national security was raised before the Federal High Court, and the judge dismissed it. So you cannot detain anybody in Nigeria without taking him or her to court. And so you cannot detain anybody as if we're under a military junta whereby people have to be detained without being taken to court. So when the government became so embarrassed, locally and internationally, the Kaduna State Governor offered to help, and that was how some frivolous charges were slammed against them in May 2018. Of course, we went to defend the monstrous charge. And 2 days ago, the Kaduna State High Court, presided over by the Honorable Justice Gideon Kurada, set them at liberty, set them free, on the ground that the 15 witnesses called by the prosecution did not prove any of the charges against them to warrant their being called to offer a defense. Secondly, that the charges were filed, whereas the offenses were committed in 2015, December 2015, the alleged offenses. They were charged under a law enacted in 2017, and there is no provision that allow retrospective, effect. And so the court said the charges were illegal, the charges were invalid, and on that ground, they were discharged and acquitted. Secondly, in the alternative, the court said our no case submission was sustained because we convinced the court that no case had been made against them to warrant their putting up a defense. And here I must commend the role of my colleagues, particularly Eddie Inegedu, who stood for the second defendant, as well as Maxwell Kion, who had represented 4 sets of Shiites. About 209 others had been charged before 4 different courts in Kaduna. Each of the judges dismissed the cases, discharged and acquitted the defendant because no case was made against them. And what was the main case? That a soldier who was killed by his colleagues due to what they call accidental discharge. The Shiites were alleged to have killed him, one corporal, then Kaduna. And the court dismissed the charges. Those who were alleged to have killed him directly were freed. Now, the state now said El-Zakzaky and his wife must have incited those who allegedly killed the soldier. And the court said there is no basis for the charge. You said Islamic movement in Nigeria is an illegal organization. So the El-Zakzakys are leading an illegal organization. And the court found that as of December 2015, when the alleged offenses took place, the IMN had not been prescribed by law. So when you look at the totality of the charges, you will appreciate gross inhumanity to man. In the case of the wife of El-Zakzaky, no witness made any reference to her. So she was Kaduna Correctional Center comply with the orders from the court as soon as the warrant of arrest was served on them 2 days ago. But this will interest you. A day before the ruling of the court, anticipating what might happen, the Kaduna state government, without any authority of the federal government, rose to the Federal High Court to file a new charge alleging terrorism against our client. Of course, and the charges were taken to the prison, the correctional center, with a view to serving our clients. They rejected the service and advised the bailiffs of court to serve the papers on us as their lawyers, or wait till the following day when the case will come up before the Kaduna State High Court. So, but regardless of such diversionary tactics on the part of the Kaduna State government, the correctional center comply with the judgment, hence our clients have regained their freedom.
Right.
They've left Kaduna. Yeah.
Okay, right. We need to quickly take a commercial break. When we return, we'll continue our conversation. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Before the break, we've been speaking with the lead counsel to El-Zakzaky and his wife, senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana. He has been reacting to the court judgment where his client was declared discharged and acquitted. Mr. Falana, I wonder if you are still here with us. One quick question. One of the members or lawyers of your client said that they will be approaching the court to seek damages against the Kaduna State government for the privation and travails he faced during his prolonged incarceration. Could you talk to us more on this?
Well, frankly speaking, we act on the instructions of clients. We haven't been briefed, we haven't been instructed to file a case alleging malicious prosecution on the part of the government. I think their main concern now is to attend to their health, which has been seriously impaired in the course of their almost 6 years of incarceration.
All right. Before we let you go, a lot of Nigerians would like to know this with regards to this case still. You talked about the fact that you filed a no case submission at the courts, and we're wondering if what led to you filing the no case submission, and if you were confident that the courts were going to uphold that submission.
As regards to the frivolity of the charges and the fact that the 15 witnesses summoned by the government did not adduce evidence on the basis of which our client could be asked to put up a defense. And have regards to the fact that the judges handling these cases have shown independence and commitment to the rule of law. They have shown fidelity to the rule of law. And our judges were prepared to ensure that justice was done at the end of the day, no matter whose axe was carried. You will recall that during the pendency of the action, our clients were allowed to travel abroad because of their very terrible state of affairs. The Honorable Justice Darius Kobo made the order, but the Kaduna State government countered the order. And when the action of the state government could not be justified, they were allowed to travel. But over there in India, the government frustrated the medical treatment, and so they were brought back. And what we then had to do was to ensure that the authorities of the correctional center in Kaduna allow our clients to receive the best medical treatment. And there was even a time we got medical personnel from abroad to also attend to them. And that is how they have been able to withstand the horrendous violations of their rights and the threat to their right to life. So it's been a very interesting development. So we were convinced beyond any shadow of doubt that justice will be done in their case. Of course, until a judgment is delivered, a lawyer cannot be so confident that you are winning a case. But with this time around, we're reasonably confident that justice will be done, and justice has been done in this case.
All right, and that will be a fine place to leave the conversation. Thank you so much, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, for speaking with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure.
Right. One of the most discussed issues in our society today is the issue of justice. Many people are aggrieved, but they don't know how to get justice. While some are frustrated with the long adjournments in the court, others don't have the money to pursue justice when they feel cheated. In the middle of all of this, the Justice Court program sprang up and started showing on major television channels. Well, joining me now is Justice's Court Judge Fumi Ashaolu. She is here to talk to us about this Justice Court reality TV show and how it has progressed over the time. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you very much.
Now, there is no doubt that the viewers of the show find it very educative and entertaining, I must say. Yeah, your followership on the various platforms is fast rising. And one would hardly believe that the program just started airing a year ago.
Yes, please.
Tell us about the impact the Justice Court has made.
Well, so far, I'll say that most people that come to Justice Courts, they always get very speedy trial and they get their matter resolved on time. Justice Court is an ADR process. There's alternative dispute resolution, small claim, civil courts. And it teaches the viewers, they get to know about the legal impact of every action they take. It's educative, and it gives opportunity to people that cannot afford the regular services of a lawyer, or they're running away from the intricacies of the traditional courts. So they come in to us.
Wow. But people say nothing is free in Freetown, actually. But how do you admit cases, and how much does it cost for people to bring their matters to Justice Court?
Well, nothing is free, true. But really, the executive producer has been the one bearing the cost. That's the production team. And but for the litigants, that's the plaintiff and the defendants, they don't have to pay a dime. It's free.
Just come. You come with a case.
Yeah, there's a procedure for that.
Right.
We have a website, www.thejusticecourt.com. Most times we encourage them to submit their cases online. Then the legal team investigates, reach out to them, request for evidence, and thereafter there's a process that they pass it to the courts. So that's the way it goes, but they don't have to pay. They don't pay anything.
At all?
At all, no, not a dime.
I'm sure a lot of persons who are seeking accelerated hearings to their cases might begin to this line as they are watching. But then in some of your court sessions, you even offer to help and empower some of the litigants in distress. This is quite unique and good, I must say. But what is the motivation for this? What is the basis?
When the parties appear at the courts, there are some of them that through bad choices they've made, they discover that they find themselves in a pitiable condition. And at such instance, the court step in, and that's when the judge decide to assist from the court's pocket too. Yes. But over time, even after the matter is completed, we have good Samaritans reaching out to us from all over the world. They assist some of the litigants to sort out their indebtedness. They help them to pay up. And they do, at times, they empower them as well. So that's been it.
You have been talking about from the court's pocket, the production team's pocket. Are we saying that there's no form of subvention from government? Nothing. I mean, how do you really fund this?
If government comes in, we really appreciate that. But so far, no. Nothing from the government. Nothing. And along the line, the production company, Navinis Media Production, they've had some sponsors that reach out to them towards partnering. They've been deliberate over it, but it's still open.
Why have they been deliberate?
Working out the structure has not really been perfect so far, but they're still working on it.
Are there concerns with regards to the independence of the Justice Court? Is that a major problem?
Not really just about the independence of the Justice Court, but we want to, right now, what we have is a free and fair proceedings. And we don't really want anybody bringing in conditions towards making the parties have a free and fair justice. That's the ultimate plan. So when we have any condition that is going to negate that, we're not really open to it.
So what are the challenges perhaps the Justice Court has, faced financially? Are there any challenges? Because like you have said, everything needs funding as it is right now in our society. So what challenges have been faced financially by this program?
So far, like I just said, some sponsors came forward, but we're still working on it. If we get a team that we can work with, we're open to it.
Yeah, besides that, nothing else?
No, nothing.
Right not run into troubles with regards to funds?
No, not so far. We've been coping, but of course we don't know how far we can go on our own without the support from sponsors. That's
a threat to the whole plan, and sure, at the end of the day.
Go,
Right, now your court sessions are held in Lagos. Are you planning on getting other areas to coming, and then have you been getting cases from other states? Are we looking to seeing how you can collaborate with states perhaps?
Right now, even though the court sits in Lagos,
yes,
but we cover the whole of Nigeria. even outside Nigeria.
Right.
Yeah, some of the cases, we had somebody, a plaintiff that came in from Cotonou to appear before the courts, and she was able to obtain justice. Another funny one, we had an American that called on us to take up another American. We do mediate, we do. We do. In fact, very soon, in the next few weeks, we're going to have some cases that are being done, that will be done online. I'm talking about the court proceeding that will be taken online. We have some litigants abroad that want to take up people in Nigeria. So we do that. So we're just going into that as well.
Okay. Now, how do you enforce judgments from your courts?
Yeah,
from your court?
Okay. Like I said...
Please don't lean too much now.
Okay. Like I said earlier on, is an alternative dispute resolution, small claim, civil courts. And by that, the parties are open to having the judgment binding on them from the onset. And before they even appear before us, the legal team makes sure that if they already have a case, if the matter they want to bring before us is already before the regular court, they have to withdraw that matter from there. Then we give the judgment in the court, they comply, and if any party defaults, then they come back to the court again to repose, and we take further step on that.
So you haven't had any case where you have had to perhaps bring in the police to take these cases further? How do you ensure that issues are resolved amicably?
On the show, that's right in the courtroom. The judge always makes sure the opportunity is given to the parties to resolve right there. So they work out an arrangement of how they want to offset their indebtedness, and the other party, once they agree. At times, I step down at times, allow them to go and work it out with the legal team. Then they come back in to the courtroom to give us the pattern of how they have agreed to offset the loan. And like I said earlier on, most cases, we have good Samaritans that reach out to the court, to the legal team, even to me directly. They pick the person they want to assist, and they request for their details. So they assist them to pay off their debt too. So far, so good. We've not had that
helps resolve cases
yes, we've
quickly.
Not really had that
because unlike the regular courts, we do not have that. And so, and a lot of persons, like we're discussing behind the scene, want their cases resolved as quickly as possible. So has there been any case that you felt this is quite a tough nut to crack?
Not quite, but I only refer to matrimonial matters. With regards to matrimonial matters, at times, issue of domestic violence do come up when they narrate their case. And because justice court is a civil matter, is a civil court, and domestic violence is a criminal matter. So what we try to do is handle the civil aspects, then the legal team advise on the domestic violence and the step to be taken thereafter. So most cases, that's when we have issues. But all in all, at least, let's say 98% of them, by the time they go for the anger management classes and the marriage counseling that the court normally recommend, even though the bill is picked by the
court.
Exactly. So we've always have positive results.
Right. So which has been the most interesting one for you to rule on? There must be that one. There must be that one.
Yeah, it's very touching. It has to do with a father and a son. The father, 80-something-year-old dad, brought the son to the courtroom. The man couldn't even walk properly. We're able to resolve the matter, and the son, I ordered the sum of 20 million naira against the son to pay to the dad, and,
wow.
He paid up. And after paying up, I followed up to try and see that the relationship between them gets better. So I think that's the most touching case I think I've...
Because I can see you're being quite emotional with
regards
sure,
it's very, very touching. Yeah, it's a very
so
touching
you
case.
follow up sometimes?
Sure, we do. We do.
Now,
in fact, some of the cases that we did last year, we brought back some of the parties, the litigants, this year, to come and appreciate people that give them money, that empower them. And they're all on YouTube.
Right. Okay, now we must come to the point where we need to understand what it's inspired the decision to come up with this reality show in the first place, the Justice Court reality show.
First of all, it has to do with the conjunction at the traditional courts.
Right.
And worldwide right now, ADR, that's Alternative Dispute Resolution, is a welcome idea in order to assist the courtroom in congesting the cost list. So that's first. Then secondly, it has to do with social justice too. And at the same time, the legal education. Because when people know what to do, then they don't run into trouble.
Right.
Sure. So a lot of people don't know, and ignorance of the law is no excuse under the law. So people need to know what to do and what not to do.
And so far you would say that a lot of persons have been enlightened as a result of this show.
Definitely. They do pass comments on YouTube and on our social media, and those saying that they learn so much from the court process, and they know how to handle a lot of these breach of contracts cases that we've done. We have some on breach of trust, tenancy matters, and so on. They said it's been very educative.
But have you also gotten feedback on people thinking it's a reality show, so whatever is happening there is not real?
Yes, at the early stage, a lot of people thought it was a scripted proceeding. But we've passed that stage now. They've come to realize that there are real cases, true life cases, and the judgment is binding. It's not a play, it's not a drama. It's not a drama at all. They've come to realize that.
When you started out, was it challenging to get these cases? I mean, how did people get to know that there was a program called the Justice Court reality TV show?
Yeah, we had adverts on TV.
Oh, right. So far, what has your experience been in handling and resolving disputes since the inception of the show?
Fantastic.
Right?
Fantastic, yeah. It's been very interesting because you come across several cases, situations, some very emotional, some with their self-entitlements, spirit, exactly, spirit. So you have to correct that, and there was some of them when you give them money from even from the court's pockets, it's difficult for them to say thank you.
Right, we understand.
But then we keep going.
That's the reason why you're there in the first place. But then there is no doubt that the Justice Show has been a huge success so far.
Thank you.
What are your plans to build on this going forward?
So far, the production team has been putting in a lot of efforts to make sure that our goals are achieved. And there's no alternative way to success than putting in more efforts and to make sure that we keep doing what we're doing in a better way. We keep improving on it. That's it.
And funding too.
We're waiting for funding. We're calling on people to fund us, to support us worldwide, wherever. We're waiting. we hope they come forward.
But you mentioned something that I'd like for us to talk about. You talked about the fact that because of the challenges with administering justice at the traditional court, that ADR is the way to go. But for those watching who might want to go this way, how can they go about it? Do you just wake up and begin to have, must it be a reality show in the first place, and then do you just wake up and just say, you know what, I'm going to have an ADR and that's it? What's the process? Are
you talking about the litigants?
No.
Or from our own side?
From your own side. How do you come up with an ADR such that, because you are not having the support of government now, it's a standalone thing. Can anybody just begin this? First, you must be a lawyer, definitely.
Yes, you have to be a lawyer. Then I'll tell you, to be able to do this, you have to have the passion for it, first of all, because it's not really an easy task. It's not an easy task, especially when you just starting off. I told you that at the early stage, a lot of people didn't even believe there are rape cases, and they believe it's scripted, you know. But over time, we're able to gain their confidence, and once they realize the benefit of it, they embrace it, and which is what has happened. And it's mostly about social justice. There are lots of people out there that do not have access to justice. There are lots of ADR outfits, even in Nigeria. Yes. Even the courts, the regular courts, encourages mediation.
Wow. I'm just realizing
before coming to court. Even Lagos State, at the Lagos State, they refer cases there. After mediation, then you come to the courts. So, it's all over. It's all over. There are so many platforms in Nigeria now towards that. So, and basically, mostly, is to give people easy access to justice and to assist them to have a speedy resolution or to resolve their cases.
You know, it is said that this is the last hope of the common man. So as quickly as it is done, a lot of persons will live at peace with not just themselves, but the people around them. And like you have rightly pointed out, perhaps a lot of persons need to come to the level of awareness that there are alternatives to these things using the ADR, because some persons are not aware of it. They go to the traditional court. The cases are dragging for years. And so they are not happy with what it is. But with you saying this, I think it's something that a lot of persons would look into. But then again, let's look at the aspect of support from family. That's also a huge one. What is it like for you?
Support from the family to handle this.
Yes, to do this, because it's something you say you're passionate about.
Yes. Everybody that grew up with me knows where my passion had always been. It's always been towards this, always, all my life. Even with practice, I do take a lot of pro bono cases. That's free cases that you do. You handle. Yes, yes. I used to visit the prison to assist the detainees there, you know, and I've always had foundations where I try to empower people too.
Wow.
I belong to clubs where we have rehab center. Rehab center as well, my club, you know. That's always been my disposition.
Your passion.
All my life, towards empowerment, social justice, and assisting people generally.
And so it was not anything new.
It comes naturally
when they saw you toying at this spot. What do you have collaboration with? Because you talked about empowering some of the litigants. You talked about sending them to anger management classes and all.
Marriage counseling.
Marriage counseling. Are there collaboration with all of these bodies, or is it still from within?
We pay. We get professionals and we pay for it. We send them there and we pay for it.
Right.
That's what we do.
And you're not looking to collaborate with some of these people?
If we have people that are ready to work with us, we'll be very happy.
That would be nice.
Very happy to have them on board.
All right.
Happy.
And I guess that would be a fine place to leave it, except you have a final word with regards to the Justice Court.
Well, Justice Court. Well, I like our viewers, I love to thank everybody. And we look forward to having people on board to support us and take us to greater heights so that we can impact more on the populace.
And that would be it. Thank you so much. Justice's Court Judge Femi Ashaolu. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you.